Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We start off with crime drama this hour and an episode of Richard Diamond Private Detective starring Dick Powell. This episode originally broadcast June 21st, 1953, the story of the Missing Night Watchman.
Now your Rexall Family Druggist brings you a transcribed half hour with Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell.
Diamond Detective Agency, not a corpse in a carload.
Rick?
Hi, Helen.
Hi. What are you doing?
Oh, trying to think up a new ad for the phone book.
Well, what's the matter with the old one?
Doesn't seem to be bringing in the business.
Oh.
Hey, see what you think of this one. Diamond Detective Agency, we'll split any case you've got. Bonded or dead on arrival.
Well, by all means, use it.
Like it?
No, but think of all the business you'll get from the psychiatric ward.
Oh, you're a living doll.
Will I see you tonight?
Mr. Diamond?
Helen, dear, I'll talk to you later. I think I've spotted a client.
Bye.
Bye. Well, come in.
You're Mr. Diamond?
That's right.
My name is Quimby, sir.
How do you do, Mr. Quimby? Pull up a chair.
Thank you.
Something I can do for you?
Yes. You see, Mr. Diamond, I am the manager of the Far East Importing Company. And when I went down to the store this morning, our night watchman was missing.
So?
Also, about $50,000 in unset gems.
Why come to me instead of the police?
But those jewels were on consignment to the store. I was in hopes you could recover them before I had to make an accounting to the owner.
Who owned the gems?
Mr. Philip Lasdown. He's a very eccentric collector. He has many things on display in the store. He's a very good client.
Aren't you insured?
Naturally. But if Mr. Lasdown knew that a robbery had taken place, he'd never again do business with my establishment.
And you want me to recover the missing jewels?
If you can.
You think the night watchman is responsible for the theft?
Well, I don't know what else to think. The night watchman's name is Block, Arthur Block. He lives in an apartment on the east side. But I've already checked with his landlady, and he hasn't shown up.
How long have I got to recover the jewels, Mr. Quimby?
But I have no idea. It's impossible to tell when Mr. Lasdown will want an accounting.
Well, I charge $100 a day in expenses.
Oh, yes. Well, 100 be enough for now.
Well, if you have nothing to do for the next few minutes, I'd be more than happy to grovel at your feet.
I beg your pardon?
Well, now, I want the night watchman's address, also the address of your shop. Then you go back to the shop and wait to hear from me. Quimby gave me what I wanted, then minced happily out of my office. I locked up, grabbed a cab for the east side of town, and 20 minutes later, I was talking to the missing night watchman's landlady.
Sure, honey. Arthur Block lives here. You're the second one to come asking for him this morning. He killed somebody or something?
Is he in?
No, he ain't been in since yesterday evening before he left for work.
Can I take a look at his room?
Well, I don't know, Blue Eyes. It's against the rules.
Oh, my goodness, I dropped a $5 bill.
My goodness, so you did. Don't hurt your back bending over, honey. I'll get it. Oy. Little rheumatism, but anything for a fin. Say, you got any more loose ones around? I'll show you every room in a joint.
Just the one where Block lives.
Right down here. You ain't no cop, honey. Shamus?
Yep.
Figured. Right in here. There you are, handsome.
Thank you, Mother.
Mother! When you're done, stop back at my room and have a beer.
I never touch anything stronger than opium.
Never anything stronger than opium. Mother!
The night watchman's room was a shabby affair, about 15 by 20, and I went over it inch by inch, cockroach by cockroach. Apparently, Block hadn't taken anything with him. The drawers of the broken-down dresser were filled with an assortment of socks and underwear. In the closet, I found the rest of his clothes and an old empty suitcase. Yes, if Arthur Block had skipped, he was figuring on buying a wardrobe someplace else. I left, keeping on my tiptoes as I passed the landlady's door. Then I headed for the address of Mr. Quimby's antique shop.
Hey, Mr. Diamond, did you find out anything about the night watchman?
Well, his landlady's a lush and likes blue eyes.
Oh, my gracious.
What's the matter?
Mr. Lasdown. Good afternoon, Mr. Lasdown. I do hope you...
Enough of your vulgarism, sir. It's a perfectly wretched afternoon, as you very well know.
Yes, it is. Pardon me. Mr. Diamond, Mr. Lasdown.
Philip J. Lasdown. How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
Quimby, I've come from my Buddha.
You've come to your... Oh,
You've had it quite long enough. Where is it?
Mr. Lasdown, I have someone who's interested...
I've decided not to sell it. Now, come. Where is it?
It's over there, in the corner, Mr. Lasdown.
In the corner?
Yes.
I see. It's not enough that I suffer the torment of lending my exquisite stature to a firm that employs a Philistine as manager. No. I am now subjected to the ignominy of having it secreted in a corner behind a variety of bric-a-brac one would expect to find only in the men's lounge at Coney Island.
Mr. Lasdown...
Remember, I told you that Voodoo was to enjoy this room's most favorable location. You made a grave mistake, sir. A momentous mistake.
But please, Mr.
Enough,
Lasdown...
sir. I'm repossessing my Buddha forthwith. For years, I forced myself to deal with you in a patient and forbearing manner. But never again. This is the crowning blow. Far be it for Philip Lasdown to cast pearls before swine.
Oh, that man, Mr. Diamond. Oh, that terrifying man. I must have been born under an unlucky star.
Well, relax. Things could be worse. You've still got a little hair on your head.
Even that's getting thin.
So who wants fat hair? I left Quimby wringing the cold sweat out of his hands and took a cab over to the 5th Precinct Police Headquarters. When I walked in, the clock above Lieutenant Levinson's desk said 12 noon, and Lieutenant Levinson said...
Oh, no.
Oh, what's the matter, Fatty? I remind you of your lost youth?
No, a lost cause.
Well, you might as well face it, Walter. You hate me because I have an athletic waistline.
Ha, ha, ha.
Eureka. At last, a 3-syllable word. I knew you could do it, Otis. I'm going to let you do me a favor.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I want you to check with the morgue and all hospitals and jails for an Arthur Block, lately employed as the night watchman of the Far East Importing Company.
Oh. Well, I'll check, but not because you told me to.
Then why?
Because I'm stupid. I guess I told him.
What's all this about, Rick?
That's a missing night watchman and $50,000 in jewels, Walt. But you can't stick your nose in it yet. Nobody's dead.
I've got a sergeant who could make a liar out of you.
What do you know about a guy named Philip J. Lasdown?
Never heard of him.
Shove me that phone, will you?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Forget it. Just leave a nickel.
Oh, he's a collector of rare art objects and nasty dispositions.
Want me to check on this Lasdown for you?
Might be a good idea.
Okay.
Yes?
Quimby?
Oh, Mr. Diamond, I was hoping you'd call.
You and 10,000 foolish debutantes.
Mr. Lasdown has had the Buddha removed, and he is sending his lawyer over in the morning for an accounting. Now, should I tell him about the jewels now or wait until morning?
Wait, if you want this thing solved. What's Lasdown's address?
Blue Heron Road at Long Island.
Thanks. I'm going out to see him. I'll check with you later.
Patience, please. I do not read pick, look, see, quick, or popular mechanics. I refuse to endorse a petition, and as far as a free excursion to the Bahamas with all expenses paid, I couldn't be less interested. Now, if you'd be so kind as to remove your person from my property. I'm warning you, sir.
Look, Your Highness, remember me? I met you this afternoon at the Far East Importing Company.
I remember you. Good day. Young man, if you do not remove your foot from my door, I may resort to violence. You will kindly remove your foot?
By all means, as soon as you answer a few questions.
Who are you, sir? I mean, what's your occupation?
I am a private detective.
How earthy. Well, what do you want?
How many things do you have on consignment in the Far East Importing Company?
Oh, good grief. What kind of a question is that?
The first of several.
I have many things on consignment there.
Anything of extreme value?
What are you getting at?
Just curious.
Yes, disgustingly so. Of course, there are many things of extreme value. Approximately $50,000 in rare gems, a dozen priceless antiques. As a matter of fact, that Buddha which you saw this morning, my most priceless possession. Aside from being very old, the eyes are 2 perfect pigeon blood rubies. Now, is there anything else? I'm sure your foot must be going to sleep.
Did you ever know or meet a man named Arthur Block?
Never.
He was the night watchman at the shop.
The night watchman. So our conversation's at an end. I find your reference to my association with the night watchman the lowest form of discourse. Now, good day.
Gesundheit to you.
Hey. Hey, bud.
Sorry, I do not read pick, click, quick, look, spook.
Hey. Who's taking the census? Just want to know if a party named Larsdown lives here.
Well, you could hardly call him a party. More like a friendly street fight.
Look, friend, I got to pick up some luggage. Does Larsdown live here?
Yeah, with a bosom Buddha. Lansdowne's a one of the toupee.
Oh, Mr. Diamond, I was just closing up shop. Have you found out anything?
Well, not much. Tell me something, Quimby. Where do you keep those jewels?
Why, in the safe?
Did the night watchman have the combination?
Yes, in case of fire. There are also some perishables in with the gems.
Did he know much about the rest of the merchandise in the store?
Yes, of course. He had a list and made inventory every night.
Did he know Lansdowne's Buddha had ruby eyes?
But I don't know. Well, how'd you find out?
Lansdowne told me. If the night watchman knew about those rubies, I wonder why he didn't pry them out and take them along.
I never thought of that.
Have you touched that safe?
Yes, when I opened it and discovered the loss.
Well, don't do it again. It may have some of the night watchman's fingerprints on it somewhere. Tell me, did you know Lansdowne was planning on leaving town?
Leaving town? No, I didn't.
Well, I'm not sure that he is, but I've got a hunch. Are you going home after you lock up?
Yes.
Well, give me your phone number. I'm going down to the precinct and may want to reach you later.
Well, hello, Blue Eyes. You still looking for Block?
That's right. Has he shown up?
No. Hey, honey, you just skipped off without saying goodbye. Had a beer all open for you.
Oh, I bet you were so unhappy you poured it down the drain.
You sure are the one.
Yeah, I sure am. Look, sweetheart, if a Block shows up, call me at the 5th Precinct Police Station. Name's Diamond.
Sure, handsome. Oh, you fracture me.
Well, that's an idea.
I couldn't find nothing on that Missing Night Watchman, Shamus.
Well, thanks anyway, Otis. In appreciation, I may send you a large can of Red Heart, liver flavor.
Oh, go chase your tail around the block.
Otis.
Yeah, and I got plenty more things to say.
Funny thing?
Funny as your face. I'm tired of you making fun of me. I ain't no dog.
You having trouble with Otis again?
Oh, I don't think it's anything serious. But I would suggest a rabies shot.
Well, here's something that might interest you. Philip J. Lansdowne booked passage on the Star of the Orient, sailing for the Far East tonight at 11 o'clock.
Dick Powell, formerly a song and dance man, musical comedy star, tried to go serious, and actually did with a number of shows, including this one, Richard Diamond, Private Detective, June 21st, 1953. At this point, it was the summer replacement show for Amos and Andy. June 21st, 1953. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues in a moment. Hey gang, just a note to let you know that we've notified all of our radio stations that our final episode of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox will be broadcast on all of our radio stations on June 30th of 2023. It is not something of your radio station. It's not because you haven't been responsive. It's because my doctors have said I need to take time off, and I need to take a significant time off. I can no longer work 90 hours a week. It's just that simple. So to let you know, listen to the shows, enjoy the shows while you can. Go to our friend Ted at RadioMemories.com. He supplies a lot of shows. And go to our webpage at classicradio.stream and learn how you can build your own classic radio collection. But again, June 30th will end Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. More of Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective, June 21st, 1953.
Well, Walt's enlightening bit of information certainly seemed important, so I sat down to try and figure out exactly what I had to date. My client, Quimby, had come into my office and hired me to locate a missing night watchman named Arthur Block because $50,000 in gems had been pilfered from Quimby's shop. The gems belonged to a particularly disgusting character named Philip J. Lansdowne. The missing night watchman, Block, was still missing. And by the looks of his room, he'd skipped without taking anything with him. And by the look of his landlady, I couldn't blame him. Well, I tied it all together, and the conclusion was amazingly simple. I had exactly nothing.
Hey, I got something hot, Lieutenant. A 211 on River Street. They fished a guy out of the bay at the end of Pier 16. Identified as one Arthur Block.
Hey.
That's your missing night watchman, isn't it?
That's his name.
They bring the body in?
Yeah, it's down the morgue now.
Get Quimby down there for identification. Here's his phone number.
Does Block have any family or anything?
I don't know, but you might check with his landlady. She can get you an identification, too.
Otis, get this Quimby and the landlady. Take him down to the morgue. We're going up to see Verdier in ballistics.
Right.
Here's the slug, Lieutenant.
Huh? Almost like a ball.
This is really most amazing. That slug was fired from a weapon made in 1831 by Samuel Colt. He patented it in Europe in 1835 and in the U.S. in 1836.
What did the gun look like?
Well, it was the forerunner of the Colt 44. A single barrel with a revolving breech carried 5 slugs. During the Fieschi Revolution in France in 1834, Fieschi had a rifle made like it. Tried to assassinate Louis Philippe.
Lieutenant.
Well, what is it, you mallet head?
Call just came over the hot shot. That guy, Philip Lasdown, said someone had busted into his house and tried to rob him. He said he chased the guy off, but he was screaming for protection.
Come on, Walt. I think we better go over there. Well, things were beginning to shape up. Walt and I piled in the squad car and headed for Long Island, the house of Philip J. Lasdown. When we got there, Lasdown was hopping around like a kangaroo with a hot foot.
Fine state of affairs. It's getting so a man isn't even safe in his own home. What's the city coming to? A police force is obviously second only to the Boy Scouts.
Now, calm down, Mr.
Calm down, my
Lasdown.
good fellow. I have no intention of calming down. How would you enjoy walking into your own living room and there, slinking around in the dark, a pathological fiend intent on robbing you of your most priceless possessions?
What was he after?
My Buddha. The object of your particularly uncouth interrogation of this afternoon, Mr. Diamond. By the way, where were you 40 minutes ago?
Oh, relax. Did you get a look at this guy?
The lights were out.
Well, did he take you, Buddha?
He most certainly did not. But had I not walked in at the precise moment, he would probably be carrying it piggyback to the middle of Times Square. And your observing police force would undoubtedly stop traffic for him.
That's the Buddha right over there, Walt.
Keep your hands off it.
Now, look, Lassie, you called the police. The police are here, so relax before someone puts their foot in that big mouth.
Well, really?
Yeah, really. You're getting ready to leave town, aren't you?
I don't see that that's any concern of yours, Lieutenant.
Well, Buster, in case you don't know it, you're the number 1 suspect in a killing.
I beg your pardon.
Do you own any antique guns?
Guns? Sir, I do not collect weapons of any sort. I demand to know what you mean when you say I'm suspected of a killing.
The night watchman at Quimby's antique shop was shot to death and dumped in the river.
The night watchman again. I told Mrs. Diamond once that my association with the night watchman was as ridiculous as General MacArthur sending Stalin a charm bracelet.
Nothing's been touched on the Buddha?
Nothing. I assume that the thief knew the value of the ruby eyes.
Has there been any publicity about the Buddha?
Some.
Walt, come here.
You excuse us a second, Mr. Lasdown?
You couldn't make it a year, could you?
Charming fellow.
Yeah. Look, Walt, in some way the night watchman, the missing gems, Lasdown, and his Buddha are all mixed up together.
Okay, so what? We haven't even got the murder weapon.
Well, if the night watchman did swipe the jewels out of the safe, then someone probably killed him for them.
Yeah, that figures.
If he was planning on stealing them, wouldn't he be all ready to skip town?
Sure.
Well, he hadn't packed a thing. His apartment hadn't been touched.
Oh, well, that's not much.
Okay. If someone wanted to get that Buddha, why not break in the store?
Because it's easier to break into a house out on Long Island.
The Buddha was just moved this afternoon. Who knew Lasdown took it?
Yeah.
And if the potential thief is mixed up with the original jewel theft, why didn't he grab the rubies in the store?
I never thought of that.
No. I think he wanted that Buddha for something else. Oh, Lasdown.
What do you want?
Is there anything else about that Buddha besides the eyes?
I told you once it's a very rare piece.
Yeah, aside from that. Could anyone hide something in it?
Hide something? Why, yes, of course. It's hollow. The whole back swings open. Wealthy families used to place their valuable possessions inside the Buddha for protection.
Show us.
Certainly. There you are. You see the space inside is quite... Good grief.
Don't touch it.
Isn't that a gun?
Certainly is, and there may be fingerprints on it.
Well, I assure you that does not belong to me.
Do you know anything about a gun like this?
Well, only that it's apparently very old. An antique.
8 to 5, that's the one that killed the night watchman. Give me a handkerchief.
Yeah.
I'm afraid you'll have to postpone your trip, Mr. Lasdown.
Well, I've already purchased my ticket.
Have you any idea why the night watchman was killed last night?
Not whatsoever.
All of those uncut gems you had consigned to Quimby were stolen.
What?
That's right.
Well, why wasn't I notified?
Because Mr. Quimby thought I could recover them before you found out.
That Shylock, that deceitful little pipsqueak. After all the business I've given him.
Come on, Walt.
I shall personally take extreme delight in exposing him as a discredit to his profession.
Come on. You won't leave town, will you, Lassie, old boy?
You have my word, sir. At least not until I've dealt with that traitor personally.
But he's a suspect. We can't leave him. Rick! Rick!
With Walt protesting all the way, we climbed in the squad car and pulled it down the street to wait. In about 2 minutes flat, Lasdown came streaming out of the house, piled into his own car, and took off for the city with us right behind. A half an hour later, we watched him go into a building on the east side, and we followed. The mailbox gave us Quimby's apartment, and by the time we reached the floor, we could hear Lasdown raising his blood pressure up past the boiling point.
How dare you! How dare you!
Please, Mr. Lansdowne.
After all these years, Quimby, this is unforgivable.
He's really going at it.
But Mr. Lansdowne, you couldn't blame me.
I couldn't do anything else but blame you, Quimby. There's no excuse.
Please, the neighbors.
I'm sure your neighbors will only be the first to hear of this atrocity.
When they find the night watchman.
They have found it.
You are?
Floating in that filthy river out there. And who put that gun in my Buddha?
You found it?
False on.
June 21st, 1953, Richard Diamond, Private Detective, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these important messages from your favorite radio station. Just going to take a minute here to tell you about the big savings going on now, the clearance sale at mypillow.com. And you know, I've talked about how in my office I have a pair of my slippers, and they're really comfortable, and they're on clearance right now. The mypillow.com slippers, $25 a pair, limit 10. And I would buy 3 or 4 more pairs. Unfortunately, they're out of my size. They also have sheets, pillowcases, clothing items, all on special right now. Go to mypillow.com, click on the clearance tab at the top of the page, use my promo code Wyatt, or call 1-800-928-4715. Limited sizes remaining in the MyPillow slippers, limited colors on other items. mypillow.com, clearance tab, promo code Wyatt, 1-800-928-4715. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Richard Diamond, Private Detective, June 21st, 1953.
You knew it was there.
That does it.
No,
Wait.
I don't know anything about it.
Liar! Why did you think I found it? The police discovered it.
The police?
Yes. They believe it's the same gun that killed... Quimby, you didn't.
What's going on?
I don't know. We'd better get in it.
Quimby, no.
We'd sure better.
No, don't shoot!
Stop it, Quimby!
No.
You all right, Rick?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Can you imagine such effrontery? That assassin's apprentice was going to shoot me.
Here's his gun, Walt.
Looks like I got him in the leg.
I can't believe it. I, Philip J. Lansdowne, being subjected to such distasteful melodrama.
I'll call an ambulance.
I haven't viewed such a spectacle since I was 8 and a half. Sitting in the balcony of the Savannah Opera House, watching a third-class road company chase Little Eva across the ice.
I can imagine, Lassie. Now, let's have a look at Quimby. Come on, Quimby. Better tell me about it. You killed the night watchman with that antique gun.
Yes, I kept the gun in my desk at the office. I was taking the jewels from the safe to make it look like robbery when Block came on duty. He was early, and he surprised me. Shot him and hid the gun in the Buddha.
That's why you were so shocked when Lansdowne came and got it today.
Yes, when you told me he was leaving town, I feared he would take the Buddha with him and discover the gun inside.
It was you who broke into my house this evening.
Yes, Mr. Lansdowne.
The wagon's on the way.
Well, Mr. Lansdowne, you were pretty lucky.
What a revolting display of uncontrolled emotions.
Lansdowne!
Oh, my goodness. Mr. Lansdowne's fainted.
Why were you so late, Rick?
Oh, I got mixed up with a screwy one. I was going to leave the station earlier, but Otis got to discussing Freud with a very learned gentleman named Lasdown.
Otis was discussing Freud.
Mm-hmm, it's true. Couldn't tear myself away. Seems, according to Otis, that this here Freud plays second base for Brooklyn. Then we got around to Kenzie and discovered he was batting 200.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Neither did I, but Otis explained he'd been in a slump all season.
You and your friends.
I hate to mention it, but you qualify in that league.
Oh, but you love me.
I do not. I just breathe hard from an irritated sinus condition.
Well, use the condition and sing me a song.
Okay.
What are you going to sing?
I don't think it's any of your business.
Oh, that's a nice song. How does it go?
Well, you pick one.
All right. Let's see. No. I like...
New York in June. How about you?
That's cute.
I like a Gershwin tune. How about you?
I love it.
I love a fireside when a storm is due. I like potato chips, moonlight motor trips. How about you? I'm mad about good books, can't get my fill. And Doug MacArthur's looks give me a thrill. Holding hands in a movie show when all the lights are low may not be new, but I like it. How about you?
I like it.
You like me?
Well,
Come here.
Oh,
Well, do you?
I don't think it's any of your business.
Richard Diamond, Private Detective, stars Dick Powell in the title role and was written by Blake Edwards, with music composed and conducted by Frank Worth. Dick Powell directed the RKO production Split Second, which is now in release. And his latest film appearance was in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer award-winning The Bad and the Beautiful. Heard in tonight's cast were Virginia Gregg, Howard McNear, Jeanette Nolan, John McIntyre, Arthur Q. Bryan, Wilms Herbert, and Harold Dianfort. Richard Diamond, Private Detective is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle. This is Bill Foreman inviting you to be with us next Sunday at this time when Rexall Drug Products again bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective.
June 21st, 1953, Dick Powell, Richard Diamond, Private Detective on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, thanks to Ted at RadioMemories.com for these episodes of Lum and Abner fully digitally restored. This episode from June 21st, 1935, and let's see what's going on in court.
Howdy, everybody. Here we are, all ready to take you down to Pine Ridge for another visit with Lum and Abner. Brought to you by the makers of Horlicks, the original malted milk. And now, let's see what's happening down in Pine Ridge. Squire Skimp's hippodrome was closed day before yesterday, and he has been ordered to appear in Lum's Justice of the Peace Court today to answer the charge of violating a city ordinance prohibiting the operation of a theater on the second floor of a building in Pine Ridge. The case has been called for 2 o'clock at the Jot 'em Down store. And as we look in on our old friends now, we find Dick Huddleston and Grandpappy Spears, the complaining witnesses, and Lum and Abner waiting on Squire Skimp, the defendant, to put in an appearance. Listen.
And I wished he'd hurry up and get here. I'm getting tired of waiting.
Yeah, I've got to get back to the store, Lum.
Well, he knows the trial's set for 2 o'clock.
Well, if he ain't here pretty soon, why, you can get him for contempt in courts or something, can't you, Lum?
Well, yeah, I reckon I could, according to law, but if I was to fine him for contempt of court on top of everything else, he would accuse us of framing up on him, sure enough, then.
Well, I don't care what he thinks. If he don't show up over here, why, we ought to just go ahead and have a trial without him.
Well, we can't have a trial less than a deep in it. Wait a minute, that was our ring, wasn't it?
I don't know. I never paid no attention.
Yeah, I think it was, Lum.
Yeah, it must be Squire calling.
Yeah, might be.
Well, now, if he tries to talk you into putting a trial off, Lum, just tell him he's supposed to...
Wait a minute. Hello? You got him down, store. Lum Edwards, justice of the peace talking.
Yeah, make him come on over here.
Oh, well, how are you? I never hardly knowed you. You don't favor yourself hardly. Oh, he was.
That ain't Squire, don't
Well, we're all sitting here waiting for him now. Yeah, the trial's set for 2 o'clock, but he ain't showed up yet. Huh? Well, I guess so. I don't see no way for me to do anything else. He's violated one of the ordinances here in Pine Ridge, and... No, I never neither. I never had a thing to do with it. Dick Huddleston and Grandpappy Spears was the ones that swore out the complaint.
Yeah.
He said what? Well, he knows better than that. He's just saying that to get your sympathies roused. Well, it would be underhanded if I was doing it for that reason, but... You mean if I... Well, I've got to perform my duty. He's made a violate of the law, and it's up to me to... Well, I do know. I never thought you'd take sides agin me that way. I don't see no reasons why this should affect us in no way. I'm sorry you feel that way about it. Well, I don't know. I'll have to study it over. I don't want to make no promises. Well, no, I don't want to promise something and then not do it. Hello? Hello?
Who was that, Lum?
Nobody.
You mean you was talking all that time and there weren't nobody on the phone?
Bad news of some kind, Lum?
No, I reckon not. Abner, come here a minute. I want to speak to you. Excuse us a minute, fellers.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Lum.
Yeah, that's all right, Lum. Lum, you look like you'd saw a ghost. What in the world is the matter with you?
Abner, would you be much put out if I turned Squire loose this afternoon? Find him not guilty?
Why, I don't see how you could, Lum. We know Dad blame well he's guilty. There ain't no doubts about that. Why, was that him calling, making some more threats?
No, it's something worse than that. I ain't scared of his threats.
Well, what's the matter then?
Well, that was Evalina.
Evalina?
Yeah. Squire's been over there talking to her and got her to believing that we closed up that place of his just to get him out of the way so we can make more money at our picture show.
Oh, well, he's been telling everybody that, Lum.
Well, you know, Squire's a member of the school board, and he told Evalina if I never dismissed these charges against him, why, he'd see personal that she never got her job back next fall.
Well, ornery, low-down, good-for-nothing, I'll swan to.
So now she told me just now on the phone if I convicted him this afternoon that me and her was through for good. Our engagement is broke off.
Well, I never would have thought Evalina would ever want you to do something that weren't right, Lum.
Well, she wouldn't either, Abner. She wouldn't, but he's got her believing that he's in the right and we're in the wrong. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Wait a minute.
Well, hello, Squire. We've been waiting for you.
Yes, I guess I'm a little late. I expect we better get on up there, Abner. I hope I haven't caused any undue anxiety on the part of our distinguished magistrate, holding up the proceedings of his court of justice. Listen to that.
Yeah, I heard him. Well, just use your own judgment, Lum. I'll stand by you, whatever you do now.
Thank you, Abner. Come on. Well, gentlemen, everybody's here now. I reckon we may as well get the court opened up and try the case.
Yeah, you fellers, come on, let's get started.
Your Honor, I hope you will accept my sincere apologies for my slight tardiness.
That's all right, Squire. Yeah, Lum could have fined you if he'd been a mind to do it, but he never.
Court will please come to order. Mr. Skimp, I wonder if you'd mind to sit over here in this chair. Not at all, Your Honor, not at all. Your slightest wish is my command. Or sit on the floor if it pleases the court.
No, this chair will be all right.
Now, gentlemen, I now declare this Justice of the Peace Court duly open to try the case of that of M.K. Skimp, vice versa, the City of Pine Ridge, for the violate of ordinance number, number 32.
Yeah.
Which reads as follows. Where is that? Yeah. It will be considered unlawful for any person or persons to operate or present a theatrical entertainment on anything other than the ground floor of any building within the corporate limits of this city because of the fire hazard. Violation of this ordinance shall be punishable by a fine of not less than $50 and not more than $500, and said place of business shall be permanently closed.
Why, Your Honor, I'd like to say a word or two.
Just a minute, Mr. Skimp. We'll hear from the complaining witnesses first, and then you'll have a chance to answer the charges brung against you. Milford Spears, will you please rise and be swore?
He's talking to you, Grandpa. Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Why, sure, yeah.
According to this complaint, you've charged M.K. Skimp with operating a picture show on the second floor of the Lodge Hall, which is a violate of Ordinance 32, which I just now read. Kindly state to the court what you know about it.
Well, all I know is that he's got a picture show up there, and it's against the law, and I think it ought to be closed up. It is closed.
Quiet, please. Don't be making statements, Mr. Peabody, till you're swore in by the court.
Well, you don't think I'm telling something that ain't so, do you?
Mr. Peabody, you'll please stop talking unless the court gives you permission.
You mean that I've got to ask you before I can say
Abner,
anything?
Will you hush up or I'll whop you on, or fine you for contempt of court? Have you got any more remarks to make, Mr. Spears?
Very odd of him trying to tell me when I can talk. Why, no, I don't believe I can think of nothing else to ask Lum, Your Honor.
You better be quiet, Abner. You're bothering Lum.
Well, me and him been partners too long for him to sit up there and try to tell me...
Silence in the court, please. The next witness is Mr. J.R. Huddleston.
Who? Oh, Dick.
Stand up and be swore, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state to the court, Mr. Huddleston, just what you know in regards to this case.
Well, while I have no personal interest in the case whatever, or no ill feelings of any kind against Squire here, I feel that the operation of a picture show or any other kind of an entertainment that would attract a large crowd is a hazard to the lives of the people who attend. And this particular building where Squire was operating his show is a very old frame building, and there's only one exit from the upstairs. A little narrow stairway that would be entirely too small to allow the crowd to get out in case of fire. And that's the reason that I signed the complaint.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard anybody else besides yourself and Mr. Spears here that thinks it's unsafe to run a picture show up there?
Well, yes, I have. I've talked to several about it. Of course, there's a lot of folks that haven't stopped to realize the danger.
Well, that don't make no difference about that, no way. If it's against the law, it's got to be closed.
I'll decide the case, Mr. Spears. You know positive that Mr. Skimp was running a picture show on the second floor of a building, Mr. Huddleston?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, I'll be dead blame. Lum can't recollect nothing.
That'll be all, Mr. Huddleston. Mr. Skimp, you've heard the charges brung against you, and you've heard the law read. Are you guilty or not guilty?
Well, Your Honor, that's what I thought you was here to decide on.
Yeah, sure, that's right. Sure. Well, are there any remarks you'd like to make before I pass judgment?
Why, yes.
I'd like to ask the court a question if it's permissible.
All right, stand up and be swore then.
Well, I'm not going to testify, Your Honor. This is just a question that I want to ask you.
Oh, well, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Did you receive a telephone call shortly before I got here a few minutes ago?
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Was it a young lady that called you?
Yeah, it was Evalina.
That's all I wanted to know. I'm perfectly willing to leave the case in your hands, and I trust that the complaining witnesses, my good friends Mr. Huddleston and Mr. Spears, will be satisfied and abide by your verdict.
Well, if that's all the evidence they are, I reckon it's left up to me to give the verdict. Any questions anybody'd like to ask?
Well, now, just use your own judgment, Lum.
Well, gentlemen, after reading the law and hearing the evidence in this case, I find the defendant guilty. And by the power invested in me as Justice of the Peace of Cloverleaf Township, I impose a minimum fine of $50 in order...
Well, Squire's bit of last-minute strategy didn't work out so well. Lum may be in bad with Evalina now, but Skimp's hippodrome is out of the way. Are you ever tempted to purchase a cheap imitation of Horlicks, thinking you might get a bargain? If so, listen to what this mother says.
I am the mother of 2 babies. When they were only a few weeks old, I was told to give them Horlicks malted milk to build them up and increase their weight. I thought Horlicks expensive, so I purchased a cheaper kind of milk that the clerk said was just as good. It didn't help the babies a bit. They didn't gain weight and were weak and fretful. So I went back to the store, and this time I insisted on Horlicks. Am I glad I did? I won't take your time telling you how big and healthy my children are now, but I do hope you'll try and prevent other mothers from making the same mistake I did. They just can't economize on inferior kinds of malted milk.
That mother is right. You can't economize by buying a cheap imitation of Horlicks. To get full value for your money, always insist on Horlicks, the original. This is Carlton Brickert, speaking for Lum and Abner and Horlicks, who now bid you all good night and good health.
June 21st, 1935, Lum and Abner on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks to Ted at radiomemories.com. And that is, quite frankly, where you can learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me, find our social media links, and if you're so inclined, you can buy me a copy to help us acquire additional classic radio collections and also help us maintain our distribution channels. That is at classicradio.stream. Classicradio.stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please thank this radio station and support their advertisers, and tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.